Welcome to the FCS Edge, where we've confirmed time flies. All we've been doing is having fun, and suddenly we're at the end of the FCS season. Where did time go? I'm Craig Haley of The Analyst and Stats Perform, along with Zach McKinnell of FCS Football Central on SI. Zach, we're coming off a great national championship game. How you doing today?
Man, I'm good. Still trying to catch up on some sleep. I don't know about you. Every time we go to, we get to the game and in the weekend of the game, there's so much going on, so many people to see, so many things to do. It's like you never can catch up on sleep. I'm enjoying this next few days, man, to kind of catch up on some rest. But man, I'm excited to talk about this game. Craig, I'm still kind of like on an emotional high from that game, man. Because even just being there in that environment, man, was so amazing. I can't wait to break it all down.
No doubt. Well, our producer is Graham Bell as usual. In this final episode of the 2025 season, we will review Montana State's overtime win over Illinois State in the national championship game. We'll even talk highlights of the 2025 season. Let's get right to it. Montana State 35-34 win over Illinois State. It was the first championship game to go to overtime in 48 FCS championship games. It came down to a 4th and 10 in overtime. Justin Lampson with a 14-yard touchdown pass to Taco Dowler in that left corner of the end zone. Miles Sandstead then added the point after touchdown. That gave them the 35-34 walk-off. Whew, I'm out of breath just talking about how great this game is.
Man, what a full circle moment, right, Craig? Because 2 years ago, their season ended the exact same way, 35-34, at home, blocked extra point in overtime, and that's how their season ended, when they all thought they could make a run. And I just think, man, it's, even with them not playing super well in the second half and allowing Illinois State to crawl back into this one, every time they had to make a play, Craig, they made a play, whether it was Taco Dowler, whether it was Justin Lampson, whether it was Jace McMillan blocking that extra point or the field goal at the end of the game. They just consistently made plays to win the game. Dane Steele's unbelievable touchdown right there before halftime, hurdling over people, finding a way to keep his knee off the ground. It just kind of was the story of the season, right? We talked all year, Montana State just finding ways to win and playing super well when it mattered most. And I think you saw that, and you saw all their mistakes, Craig, from past national championship losses and past postseason losses. All of that culminated in them. Even when things got tight, Craig, they still had a belief they were going to win the game. And I, I think that played a large role in what we saw happen on Monday night.
Hearing you talk about Dane Steele's touchdown, so much happened in this game, especially fourth quarter, overtime. I didn't even really stop to think about that was probably the touchdown of the year in the FCS, just by what he did, by leaping over a defender, diving to the end zone as another defender is converging on him. Unbelievable. In a way, it was sort of like a Destiny's kind of game, I think. I mean, Illinois State, if they had won, to go on the road for 4 wins, to, be unseated, that would just be a team that went out and earned it. Montana State, I mean, their storyline is obviously they were there 2 of the prior 4 years, lost to NDSU in 2021, 2024, never actually led in those games. Here's a game they led most of the game, and then to fall behind in overtime for the first time. So, it was a buildup for them to this moment. Once NDSU was out of the mix, courtesy of Illinois State, I think that took a lot of the pressure off Montana State because they saw the finish line, especially at that point, and they went out and got it. I mean, just a final, unbelievable game. The block kicks, that came back to haunt Illinois State. And I started to notice early in the playoffs that they had, 5, they had 6, and they had given up block kicks this year. This time it was low snaps were the culprit. Wasn't so much Michael Costantino on a low kick. I mean, it was a low snap to set it all up. But that hurt him. Jace McMillan on the field goal attempt that could have won it late in the game. Hunter Parsons with the block after Illinois State went ahead. Something's going to happen that you're not accounting for, and in this case, block kicks.
Yeah, special teams. And it's funny, Craig, like just talking on the field with some people, I was like, man, special teams have just impacted college football and just football in general across the country this year, man. In the post, like you look at the CFP, right? Like that Texas A&M Miami game, there were a ton of missed opportunities. And then it was funny, like the night before the FCS National Championship, the Ravens miss a field goal and they miss the playoffs. The same, so it's like special teams matter at all levels of football. Like you said, I think that was the one area where Illinois State has not executed on it on the highest level even throughout the postseason run. And I think that's what I don't know how you felt, but to me, like, it just being down there on the field and when they got to that 4th and 1, I was like 99% sure they were gonna go for it. I thought Brock Spack was going to go for it and say, "Man, we're just gonna close this game out the way we've done all year," right? That they've been aggressive in those situations all year, and I didn't know if he had much confidence in his special teams unit in that moment. And they look like they're going to go for it. They call a timeout. They come back out with the field goal unit. I was a little bit surprised that he didn't roll the dice there because even in that moment, right, there was about a minute left at that point. Montana State still got to drive the whole field. In the past 3 possessions, they haven't been able to move the football on you. So I thought he might have trusted his defense there and tried to get that 1 yard. But on the flip side, too, he talked about it in his press conference. They had that play earlier in the game where Montana State just stuffed them on like a 2nd or 3rd and short earlier in the game. And I think that was might have been in the red zone. That I think that might have played some, and he said he played a little bit of a factor in why he decided not to go for it. But with how they were playing right there, with a team as good as Montana State is, I thought they needed to try to put that final nail in the coffin by going and getting that 4th and 1, and it might have even been a little bit closer than a 4th and 1.
Well, it backfired on him, going for the field goal. But I felt as they were letting the clock wind down before they called the timeout, I thought they were going to go for a field goal. If I remember, I think it was a 38-yard attempt, minute 3 to go before the play. I remember the play ends with, I think, 57 seconds. I just felt like you would kick yourself if you don't get the first down. You say, "Man, it was 38. That's manageable." Costantino did kick a 35-yard field goal against Villanova. That was his long, and he was 3 for 3. I felt like, to me, you go for the field goal, and if you miss, you should have the ball deeper in there. It got blocked, and Montana State was obviously able to get it farther down the field. I that's sports. I mean, you're gonna go back when you lose, and you're gonna kick yourself on this decision or this mistake or whatever. It was terrific that this game played out the way it is. I mean, to be the first overtime game, you know, there are very few games overtime that can match the excitement of this game from 48 championship games. I mean, there's been some good ones. We're not going to say this is the exact best one, but it ranks up there for sure. Now, you mentioned being down on the field. I mean, you put on your photographer's hat for this one. You were on the field the whole game. Tell us about that experience viewing it. I'm up in the press box. You're right there field level, which is a great way to watch a game. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, man. I'm a little biased. Like I like the press box because you get that full view. You can kind of see the coverages really well and kind of what's going on. Just from a full picture. But like being there on the field, man, feeling the atmosphere and the fans. I mean, man, Craig, it was. I'm sure y'all heard it in the press box. Like it was so loud down there. And then shout out to both of these fan bases for coming and packing out the stadium and being engaged in the game. And I mean, there were some times where you could tell Tommy Rittenhouse was having trouble hearing the play call. And there were times where he had his hands up and he was saying like, he needed to hear the play call. And then on the flip side, man, like what was it, 9 false starts or something like that for Montana State? And they had a significant advantage in the crowd, and the Illinois State fans still found a way to make an impact on down there. But like you said, the energy was outstanding, man, and I just think when that extra point went through, you just felt like that sigh of relief from that Montana State sideline because for a while there, and I talked to a few Montana State fans after the game, they were like, it would have been real cool if we could have just closed this one out, without having to give us a heart attack. And it goes back and one of the older Montana State fans I talked to was like, man, there was a time where we were literally the cardiac cats. And he was like, it's only right that the only way for us to break through is to be the cardiac cats once again. And there was just that energy from the fan base that, especially close in that 4th quarter, Craig, like there was a time where like that fan base was really like nervous over there, and you could feel the energy on the field, man. But I love being down on the field and being right there in the action. And again, I thought this was, and I've been to a few different national championships, Craig. I know you've been to a few more than I have. This to me was the most energy I felt in the stadium for an FCS national championship game, and I'll go a step further than you. There's been some great national championship games, and maybe I haven't seen all of them going back to the '70s. I went to live then, so I want to be able to be there in person. But this, I think, is really, really hard to top, and it's really hard not to say this was the best national championship game we've ever seen at the FCS level.
Well, you can also include the heartbreak that Brock Spack had in Frisco when they lost 29-27 to
Hey,
Carson Wentz and
you
the Bison.
Yeah,
He's
you
lost.
bring that up, but, like, how about Brock Spack? Like, I don't think people have put this in perspective enough, and shout out to my guy Timothy because he texted this to the group chat after the game. He was like, 2 national title losses by a combined 3 points.
Wow.
Just I mean, j you wanna talk about heartbreak.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first half, Montana State, clearly won. They led 21-7 at half. Second half, Illinois State won for sure that in their rally. Then you get the overtime. I mean, you give the edge to Montana State because they finished it off, got the win 35-34. But let me ask you this. I mean, Illinois State dominated time of possession, had over 19 minutes more than Montana State. They had more passing yards, more rushing yards, which was going to be a key that, uh, with the way Montana State rushes the ball. Did was Illinois State the better team here?
No, no, like, not even close. I think if they played again, Craig, I don't know if I'd change my prediction,
Okay.
for what I predicted, and I don't think they were the better team. I think the better team won the game. Now, what and I think, there's been this conversation of, like, who played better. I think it was still, like, a one-point win is as close to, like, a draw that you can play to, especially in overtime, and you lose on a block extra point. These 2, like, Montana State dominated the first half. I thought Illinois State dominated the second half. And it was and then it came down to who can make one play to win the game, 1 or 2 plays. It was to block field goal, and it was to block extra point. And then also too, I gotta give Taco Dollar some credit. What a route there. 4th and 10, you call that play, Craig, like, that is gutsy and let's give credit to Lampson. He made that throw under pressure too, fading back, took a shot, and delivered the football straight to top. I mean, what a throw, what a catch, what execution, and championship teams make those championship plays and championship moments, and that's what Montana State did. I do think it might be a little bit skewed too, Craig, where Montana, like I talked about, each team won each half, but I do think Montana State played better than some people are giving them credit for. And I've seen a lot of people be critical of the lack of rushing attack and things like that. But to put in perspective, Montana State was getting some explosive plays. Like their offense was very explosive. They averaged way more yards per play. What was it, 7.5 yards per play? I think is what it came out to be. Craig, that probably is even more if you don't include the big fumble that they had right there where Justin Lampson has the botched snap. That's even higher. On the flip side, Illinois State did exactly what they have done all year long, averaged 4 or 5 yards per play, and we're just going to slowly, methodically work our way down the field. I think it was just a contrast in styles. And I got to give credit to Illinois State. They made the game they controlled the pace of the game, especially in the second half, and I think that skewed what Montana State wanted to do. I don't know if they necessarily abandoned the rug, Craig, because go look in the first half. Justin Lampson was dealing in the first half, unstoppable. What would 12 of 13 in the first half? Craig, why would you run the football? Like your quarterback can't miss. But then what happened in the second half, Craig? How many plays did they run in the second half? I mean, outside of that first that one touchdown drive they had, would they have like 14 plays on their 4 other drives in the second half? There's only so much you can do, and every time they ran the ball well, but then as soon as they would get in second and short, Craig, what would happen? A false start, a penalty, and then they'd be back in second and third and long, and then you had to throw it in that point. So I just think it was a combination of factors that led to them not being able to run the football as much as they wanted, even though they were still efficient running the football when they were able to try. But I think it was more of a contrasting in styles rather than one team not playing well and the other team playing poorly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, excellent point. I mean, certainly a lot of players rose to the occasion. A lot of players stayed composed in the moment. Justin Lampson, he was selected the outstanding player of the game and the four touchdowns, two passes, two rushing, 310 yards of total offense. First half, he was off the charts. I mean, that's a good point that why would you abandon the pass when he's 12 for 13 at that point? Rittenhouse stayed composed. Dylan Lord, number three wide receiver, he could have been the outstanding player. 13 receptions, 161 yards, two touchdowns for Illinois State. Just great all around. Um, I just, you're right. It was almost like a stalemate if it's a 1 point game, but special teams really factored in here. I've been saying all for a while now. Taco Dowler is a big game player. It just seems like, I think of that one touchdown return on a punt return in last year's playoffs. Just he rises to the occasion, and he made the play here to get that touchdown. You know, Another winner here we alluded to, Nashville. I mean, 24,000 plus seemed like more. That's for sure. I was thinking it was 27 before they announced the attendance. Just everything about the stadium being renovated, the way the Nashville, the committee, the Ohio Valley Conference, the Sports Council just run great. You had to be impressed with the game moving to Nashville and First Bank Stadium.
Yeah, I don't want it to move anymore. Like, just keep it here for the time being. I mean, unless it gets to the point where people just kind of get tired of it, like it kind of seemed like with Frisco. But at the end of the day, like it, because everything plays into a part. Like, I just think this game has outgrown what Frisco was. That well, look at last year's game, Craig. You're going to tell me Montana State and DSU wouldn't have brought just as many fans as we saw this weekend? It might have brought more, right? And so I just think we've outgrown that stadium, and I know they're gonna expand it a little bit with the renovations, but Nashville is more of a destination city. The downtown area is a little bit tighter, right? Everyone's in the same place. I think it promotes that kind of Illinois State was right there next to the Montana State fans rather than one bar being on this side of Dallas and the other one being on that side of Dallas for each of the fan bases. It kind of felt cool to have the entire FCS community in one spot. And I think that's a little bit of an underrated point. And then everyone was kind of worried about being such a big city. Were people going to care? Was the city going to care? I thought the city did a great job of promoting the game and putting it on on the pedestal that it deserved. And I don't know about you, even just the presentation of the game, the light shows, the 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 different scoreboard graphics, the hype videos, everything all kind of went together to make this environment better. I thought Nashville killed it. I'm a big fan. I hope they extend it for a few years. I know we'll be back there next year. And I've heard some of the rumored locations, Orlando, Tampa, Houston, Frisco, obviously, again. None of those cities, I think, can bring what Nashville brought this weekend, and I think right now, this is the best location for the game that we have, and I'm really, really hoping they make an effort to keep this game here for the time being.
Zach, if Frisco is able to get the game back, they're going to have to step up their game. I mean, maybe it just wasn't enough towards the in recent years. You need to have a fan fest in my eyes. I do think the stadium, if it's expanded, it'd been about almost 18,000. It has to be more than that. I think they might be going to 22,000. I'm forgetting the number off the top of my head, but that's helpful to make their case because it just keeps being the Dakota schools, the Montana schools, the same mix that has a large fan base that can fill a stadium. At least 18,000 is not enough. So it has to be more. And if they get to 22, that helps the case. But this experience in Nashville was certainly off the charts. All the little extras, as you mentioned, you know, really goes a long way. All right. So after this, no doubt, Montana State number one in the final Stats Reform FCS Top 25 poll, all 56 votes unanimous. Illinois State was second. Montana was third. We actually had a fourth place tie. The other semifinalist, Villanova, and also NDSU. You and I think, went number three on the ballot. We talked about it in the last podcast. I know I put NDSU third. You know, out early in the playoffs, obviously the round of 16 against Illinois State, but you do have to look at the big picture. They did have the most top 25 wins during the season, but it was nice to see South Carolina State in there, number 21. They're the Celebration Bowl champion. 10 different conferences represented in the final poll. Any thoughts on this final poll?
No, I mean, that went about the way, I expected. I was a little bit surprised the Bison came in tied for 4th, but I do think there were some voters that were waiting to punish the Bison maybe just a little bit for losing so early, and that's completely fair. I understand where they lost, but I do think if they played Villanova on a neutral field, Craig, I don't know where your prediction would be, but I know what mine would be. And again, they lost 1 point to the team that lost by 1 point in the national championship game. So it's not like they got blown out by just some random Pioneer League team or something, right? They lost to the second place team in the country. And again, I thought the top 4 teams were very, very clear. I don't have any problem with Villanova being up there, though. They did make a run to the semifinals. I was a little bit surprised that uh Bama State or PV didn't slide into the back end of the poll a little bit. I mean, both won double digit games. PV was right there in overtime of the Celebration Bowl. A little bit surprised they didn't slide in over Southern Illinois, but I do think Southern Illinois might have got a boost, Craig, because they beat Illinois State the last week of the season by 30. And I think
30.
some voters could have been swayed by that. But I had no major issues with the poll. At the end of the day, the number one spot was decided on the field, and that was the Montana State Bobcats.
Well, Prairie View was the first team outside the top 25, so 26 in essence. I believe Jackson State was 27th. They beat Alabama State. Alabama State was either 28th or 29th, I believe 29th. So the three of them were all right there. They were probably the right order because Prairie View won the SWAC title over Jackson State. Jackson State beat Alabama State head to head, but it was all close. 2-point game, 4-point game down to the end. So, but they were just outside the top 25. But great year overall. And you know what? In the second segment coming up, we're going to talk about it. Look back at some of the highlights, some of the things we really liked. So we're going to take a break here on the FCS Edge. And when we come back in segment 2, we will look at the 2025 season. This is the FCS Edge.
The 39th winner of the Walter Payton Award is voted upon by our prestigious group of voters from Youngstown State University, Bo Brungard.
Welcome back to the FCS Edge. This is our final segment of the 2025 season. Zach and I, and we're going to review the season here, some of our favorites, but let's start out with a great favorite. We had the Stats Reform FCS National Awards show this past Saturday night, 2 nights before the championship game at the Woolworth Theater, which was tremendous venue in Nashville. Just a great night. And of course, it's culminated by the announcements of the final 2 awards out of 6. Let's start with the Walter Payton Award. The winner, Bo Brungard of Youngstown State, quarterback, phenomenal year. He was the first quarterback to, the third to go 3,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards in the same season. He had the number one totals of both those categories. He edged Teron Dickens of Western Carolina, Cole Payton and NDSU. Just a great event and great way to me, Bo Brungard ran away towards the end with just this award. Did you agree?
Yeah, that was my vote. I had Cole Payton as 2, and I think what it really kind of came down to, Craig, is I think Payton had the moments, to be honest with you, like every crucial moment in DSU needed, like he delivered in. But because obviously this was a regular season award, we voted before the playoffs, and I know what happened in the playoffs, but I thought Payton was better in clutch moments. But at the same time, like if we're giving this to the most valuable player, Youngstown doesn't make the playoffs without Bo Brungard. Like, he was the entire team. Like, he led the team in rushing by a lot. He was an efficient passer this year, and I was really, really impressed with. It's funny, both first place guys came into the year, Craig, and a lot of people questioned if they could throw the football efficiently. Both of them took massive steps as
Yeah.
passers, and I was really impressed with both of them. I was a little bit surprised Cole did get second. I know Tehran set a bunch of records and had an outstanding season, but I was expecting Cole Payton to be second. But at the end of the day, man, all three guys were super deserving. And man, how cool is it, Craig, that we finally get a year and we talk about the transfer portal so much. Bo Brungar's going to be back next year. And we get to experience, like, what is he gonna be like with another year of development in that offense? Like, his ceiling is unbelievably high, and I'm just so excited to see, is he even better next year? Like, can he top what he did this year, which was already a historic season for him?
Well, sometimes a quarterback when he comes back and is always running the ball, you kind of maybe change things a bit and want to protect him a little more. I don't think that's the case with Bo Brungard. I mean, you want him running the ball. I mean, it was like 1,500 yards this year. So I don't see them changing anything with his style of play. It is great that we have somebody coming back with a chance to win a second Walter Payton Award. Uh, Buck Buchanan Award. That was the second to last award Saturday night.
The 2025 Buck Buchanan winner from the Mercer Bears, Andrew Zock.
Andrew Zock of Mercer, defensive end. He beat out Joshua Stone King from the Southern Conference, Furman. James Conway, linebacker from Fordham, was third. Andrew, 20 tackles for loss, 23 quarterback hurries, just is off the charts for Andrew. Just a great player. Again, I think the right player won. It was a much closer voting than the Peyton Award. Just Andrew did beat Joshua for Player of the Year in the SoCon, but it was real tight in both votes. What you think of the Buchanan Award?
Another one I'm so happy. I was worried about this one, Craig. I don't know if I let it on as much on the shows, but this one I was a little bit worried about. I thought Bungard had the Walter Payton locked up. I really wasn't worried about that, but I was a little bit worried people were going to be just, enamored with the stats maybe and see like, oh, well, he didn't have as many tackles for loss, he didn't have as many sacks, whatever that may be. But man, when you just turn on the film, like Andrew Zock was the best player in FCS football defensively. I mean, he was outstanding, man. The impact he made on a good defense, and I think I talked about that earlier on this show when we were kind of breaking down potential candidates. Is I value guys who are impact players on good defenses. It's easy to be a great player on a bad defense, Greg, because you don't have anyone trying to outshine you. It's really hard to stand out on a good defense. And you look at some of these guys that have transferred from Mercer, right, this offseason, they're all getting significant interest, and it's because they're all really good players. And Craig, we're going to be having this conversation in a few years here when Andrew Zock's a potential NFL prospect. We're going to be like, man, you remember his freshman year at Mercer? You remember his sophomore year at Mercer? That's the trajectory this kid's on. And I'm so glad he was rewarded for his performance because there's an argument, Craig. He was a top edge rusher last year as a true freshman, and he just didn't get the amount of snaps that he got this year. And he kept finding a way to get better. And I mean, for this kid to only be a sophomore and be this good, Craig, I mean, you're talking about like David Walker trajectory right now for Andrew Zock. And I'm really, really excited, even though he's in the transfer portal now, just as an FCS fan, when these guys transfer up, I am excited to see what he develops into because I think he could be a star at the next level wherever he transfers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great community, FCS. So, yes, even if he goes off the FBS level, and he's going to, he still feels like one of our own on the FCS level. Shout out to James Conway, third in Buchanan Award voting. He was also a Doris Robinson Scholar Athlete finalist. He was a Campbell Trophy finalist, recognized as the FCS all-time tackles leader, just a well-rounded student athlete, James Conway of Florida, or excuse me, of Fordham. All right, as we talk about the season here, let's kind of like share some of our memories, some of our highlights. Let's rotate. You go first. You give me one. I'll go one. Well, let's rotate a little bit. What are some of your highlights of this 2025 season?
Oh man, there's there's so many. I think the first one would probably be uh, that Teron Dickens, man, like with his return because I don't know if many people remember, like, I was super high on him in the preseason, like, talking about, like, that's the whole reason why I thought Western Carolina could be a dark horse this year is Teron Dickens, and unfortunately, man, the defense didn't hold up in some of those key games down the stretch, and then he missed the first 3, obviously, which was unfortunate, but, man, I just think back to those record-setting performances like that the 46 straight completions, man, like, that record should have never had no business being broken. Craig, and I don't know, like, and I know it's dangerous saying this because you never know how the game's going to evolve. Because we always say, unbreakable records in the FCS. That one feels like it's up there now. Like, that one feels like it's right there up there with, like, the Steve McNair records of, like, total yards per game in the FCS. Like, there's no way, right? There's no way anyone completes 47 plus straight passes in a game ever again. And for him to do that and lead them to so many wins when he came back, breaking the FCS NCAA record at all levels. Such an impressive performance. That's kind of the first thing that kind of came to mind here when you asked me that question.
Yeah, I mentioned this the week after on our podcast. I watched that game from 21. He was 21 for 21 at that point, and watching it, and I found myself just sitting there rooting, complete it, because it was just so phenomenal to watch it as it unfolded. All right, I'm going to give you one. The postseason in general. And we might have the same feeling. So if you can expand on anything I say, but I think it was just a fabulous postseason. The FCS playoffs, all these road wins, 9 of them, 4 of them, for Illinois State, which is the record. Nobody had ever done that in 48 seasons of playoffs. That rally, Yale down 28 to come back and beat Youngstown State 43-42 in the first round. Just fabulous. I mean, obviously the championship game was, topped it off. Even even the SWAC championship game was terrific. Prairie View winning at Jackson State, which is difficult to do. And then you had that 4 overtime game, Prairie View losing to South Carolina State in the Celebration Bowl, 40-38. We still don't know if Tyler Smith scored on that 2-point conversion or not, because even watching replay after replay, it's just hard to tell. So I would say the playoffs and the Celebration Bowl really stood out here this year.
Well, just to combine those, right? Like overtime in the Celebration Bowl and overtime in the national championship, like both of them coming down to like a single crazy play, a blocked extra point and a controversial 2-point conversion. Sign me up for that every year, man. Like, can we repeat that? Because I don't know if I've ever seen 2 better. Like, I mean, people were talking about that's the greatest Celebration Bowl of all time. And people are talking about this being the greatest national championship of all time. For that to happen in the same year, and you mentioned the chaos of the playoffs. And I think to kind of build off of that, one of my big takeaways of the year, Craig, there's been this big conversation for about 5 years now, and you know exactly what I'm about to talk about. Is the FCS going to be okay if North Dakota State eventually moves on? And that's been the big talking point, right? It's a big fan base. They've kind of been carrying a lot of the TV ratings, things like that. Craig, as we're recording, the TV ratings haven't come out yet. It's going to be over 2.5 million average, and it absolutely peaked over 3 million. There's no way it didn't because this year's national championship was trending all like it was the number one trending topic on social media on Monday night. Taco Dowler was in the top 10 on Twitter, and Dylan Lord was in like the top 20. Like for that to be the case for the FCS championship shows that it doesn't matter who leaves, it's going to be healthy because another school, another fan base, some other players are going to step into that void, and all it is it's going to give someone else a shot. I mean, we talked about we know the Montanas and the North Dakota States are always going to bring fans, but man, Illinois State brought a ton of fans to Nashville, and they were engaged and they were locked in, and they were on the podcast in the comments, reading the articles, like they were engaging, and it's good. Like if NDSU leaves, if Tarleton makes it, if this school or whatever school, UC Davis makes a run, like they're going to step into that role and be more invested because people like to be around and talk about and attend winning football games and winning football programs. I think it showed the FCS overall is healthy, Craig. And right now we could be getting into it hit a lull there for a bit. We're reaching a new level here, man, with attendance. We talked about the best since 1996. We might have the most viewed FCS national championship game ever when these TV ratings come out. It showed the FCS is healthy. And then my last kind of point here, UTRGV. I got to talk about. I mean, Craig, we in the preseason, me and my guy Timothy do over under projections for every team. Their over under win projection was set at 1.5 because no one knew what they were going to be, and they win 9 games. And that included, now I know they didn't live up to the hype. That includes a win over like Incarnate Word, which was a top
Yeah.
5 preseason team this year. They won multiple conference games. Like they didn't just beat up on the sub D1 teams on their schedule. And then I think you just saw that fan base too. What top 15 in attendance, over 12,000 fans. And Craig, I like to go talk to fans out at the bars in downtown when I go to these championship games. 4 different fans brought up UTRGV as a program to watch in the future. It's like, man, if we're looking at programs who are investing to win at this level, UTRGV is one of those. They got the recruiting base, they got the fan base. Travis Bush is a heck of a coach. I even came on here and said he was my vote for the Eddie Robinson Award. I think they're going to be in good hands, and what a first year for UTRGV. And there's been some rumors about some other programs coming up that I've talked to a few people this weekend about moving to the FCS level, and I'm really, really excited to see who could be the next program to be successful early in their FCS, I guess, era, because we've seen Tarleton do it now. We've seen UTRGV do it. We saw West Georgia do it this
Yeah.
year. I really do think we have some great new blood in the FCS.
It's a great point. And for a startup program to actually finish 15th in attendance average for the FCS, it just shows you're on solid ground there. So kudos to UTRGV. And they beat Prairie View, one of their wins on the road. So that's what a 9-3 season. You mentioned UIW. Just about everybody had them as top 5 going into the year. I even had them third. I think I remember you may have had them third, but obviously they didn't have the season even remotely close. But the fact they lost in the first game of the year in a conference game to Nichols on national TV, that just showed you from the start that we were in for something special this year. And that game stood out, the way Nichols was ready for that win. I do think I always like how the season, everybody kind of galvanizes together, over FCS over FBS wins. We did have Bryant, LIU won, Tarleton State and Austin P from the United Athletic Conference. We had 4, which isn't that strong of a number, but everybody comes together when that happens. So I did enjoy that this year. But all right, let's get back to the championship game, because you talked about the buzz of Monday night, social media, and the comments you're getting and who was commenting on it. I've never seen more buzz from one FCS game than that one. So I do think, that stands out here. You mentioned like losing a school. How much can the FCS sustain the kind of hits if they lose, say an NDSU or, whoever it's going to be, player wise, even, Montana State's already got, some potential losses in the secondary. How much can the FCS, sustain here in losses player wise, team wise?
Now, I mean, obviously, listen, there's going to be a growing period because if you just lose NDSU, I mean, you're going to be fine. But what happens if all 4 leave of those top, the 2 Dakota States and Montana State? Now, talking to some people though, I don't think Montana State is as close as people are thinking. Like, I don't know if they're in the same conversation because they're tied to Montana. They
Yeah.
can't move up without each other, and I don't think Montana as a university is looking to jump right now, and so I think that keeps Montana State here. It's the Dakota States, and I don't think South Dakota State's ready to jump personally. So I think you would only be losing North Dakota State. You'd be fine, and I think it will. Craig, at the end of the day, what's to say that Ferris State or someone doesn't in the future say, man, let's take a chance here. Man, look at that fan base. And you know what's crazy? Like, there's even I was talking to some FCS fans. There were some FCS fans that was like, man, what can we do to get like Wisconsin Whitewater to jump
Yeah.
2 divisions to come to FCS? Like, they're putting like 25K in the stadium, man, at D3. So there's options out there. West Florida has been mentioned as a team that could potentially move up. They got a solid fan base. They've been competing. Some schools out in Texas, right? There's a few Texas programs that have been flirting with it. Pitt State, I've heard some rumors about, and that would give us a Kansas presence, right? In the FCS. So there's always options. If someone leaves, that you know what that does? It opens up a door for either someone to come up and step into that place, or a program that's already in the FCS elevate. Because I think the program that benefits the most from a program like NDSU leaving are all those programs that's been right there behind, right? Those middle of the tier, big, the number 5 through number 15, Craig, right? Those teams in the polls, guess what? Now they don't have to go through Fargo to get to a national championship. So what's to say that North Dakota couldn't take a step forward with NDSU out of the way in state? What's to say Charleston State couldn't make a run? Villanova, like, you have these programs that have been right there on the cusp. Even Incarnate Word in recent years, right? Ran into North Dakota State in the semifinals a few years ago. So there's always going to be a program to step up. I think the FCS is fine, man. I don't think there's ever going to be a world. The only way the FCS could really be in danger is if the NCAA allows that 3 division split and it's like 30 teams jump up. Then we're having a different conversation. But at the same time, Craig, if that happens, what's to say that second level there with the G6 and those top 30 teams, that technically is kind of just the new FCS, right?
Yeah.
And this 3rd division becomes whatever it may be. The FCS is fine. The downfall of the FCS has been overblown, overplayed, in my opinion. Year after year, Craig, new records are being set, new teams are emerging, new players emerging. I think I've talked to a lot of coaches this weekend, some ADs, things like that, some fans. Even with the portal, man, it works both ways. The door swings both ways. We've seen some, and I don't want to get too far into names and make this a recruiting show. But Craig, there's been some outstanding Division II players that have signed with FCS programs already. We've got some excellent Division II talent coming up that could be superstars at this level. Walter Payton finalists, Buck Buchanan finalists, and on top of that, too, the high school players are being ignored. We are signing better and better high school recruits, and that's why you see Montana State have a secondary with 3 redshirt freshmen that were starting on a national championship team, because we're getting higher level talent from the high school ranks, because those top P4 and G6 teams are living out of the portal because they have to. And so I do think it works both ways. Plus, we only got one portal window this year. I'm just gonna wrap it up there. The FCS is just fine. Don't call it dead in the water in front of me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was going to ask you what you've enjoyed the most about the FCS Edge this year, us collaborating on the show. But I'm gonna jump ahead and tell you what mine is, because just sitting back and listening to you throughout the season just now, you rattling off all these great Division II and III programs, and I'm sitting there saying, "Wow, that would be cool if they came up." Your depth of knowledge is so incredible. I think it's the best in the FCS. I think people recognize
Appreciate
that
it.
across FCS nation. That's what I've enjoyed most this year, is your depth of knowledge. Just wanted to ask you what you enjoyed most about the FCS Edge this year.
Nah, first off, man, thank you for reaching out to me and asking me to be the co-host this year, man. And like you said, I think it's having 2 people with high level knowledge of FCS football on the same show together, man, really makes a good dynamic. And I think it's good to see, even though I have my own platform and you have your own platform, to kind of come together and have this show, and we do it across the space. Like, FCS fans deserve P4 coverage, P4 level coverage of the subdivision. And I think more of the top talent in FCS, media talent, regardless of who it is, man, we can go through the list of names because we have a lot of people doing it at a high level at our subdivision now. And I think that's great that we see the media space expand for all of us to work together on different shows and things like that. All it does is bring my knowledge base with yours, and what I do with Sam and what I do with Timothy, man. Like, all it is just another outlet for fans to get information. And the more opportunities fans have to listen to their team and hear them covered, man, like, like, I don't know about you, but, like, just having people come up to me in Nashville and it's like, "Man, I love the show," and, like, I never know what show they're talking about, and some were like, "Man, I love your and Sam's show. I love your show. I love you and Craig's show," and, like, it was funny, one fan came up to me and was like, "Man, I love what you and Craig do." He was like, "Man, I keep hearing you talk about your own podcast, like, you have your own one?" And, like, I had to show them, like, we also do, like, other shows too, and so it's so cool that all of it, like, one fan might only listen to me and you, right, and the other fan might only listen to me and Timothy on the Blue Bloods, so super cool, and I just think it's another outlet for information, man, and shout out to you, and like you said, I mean, I learn from you all the time because 'cause you've been covering this thing a little bit longer than me, man. I'm not even 30 yet, so I'm still trying to get I'm still, like, fresh in this media game, man, so, I appreciate you again, man.
Well, thank you, and shout out to Braden Atkinson, Mercer quarterback, Jerry Rice Award
Absolutely.
winner. Shout out to his family because they're avid listeners to our show. Ran into them obviously in Nashville, and they were able to quote so much from our show. So great, a lot of fun this year. A lot of great guests as well. I mean, Jerry Rice, Jared Allen, all the great coaches, Coach Polisek, Coach Wilder, Travis Bush. Great to talk about his new program, but we've had a lot of fun. Now, the man, the myth, the legend, Graham Bell is our producer. He's on the show for the first time this year, always working behind the scenes, making us look good. He is across the pond in England, believe it or not, producing our show. He lives in the village of in Kingsclear. Graham, I know you've become an FCS fan. How you doing? And tell us about your fandom now with the FCS.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Zach. Yeah, I mean, how am I doing right now? Still recovering from jet lag, having flown back in from Nashville. I unfortunately wasn't there for the championship game. Was helping out with the award show there, but basically was in the city for about 36 hours and probably managed about 2 hours sleep in that time. But look, I've obviously worked with Craig for quite a few years. It's been wonderful working alongside Zach this season as well. I want to echo what you've both said to each other. Each week I get to sit in the background. I feel like a special person here, because I just sit in the background and listen to you guys talk. I learn so much more about it, and I get it before everybody else. I just wish I was slightly better at going on Reddit forums and passing off your opinions as my opinion. But because the FCS is it's great fun. That's the big takeaway I take from it all. And obviously we live in a sports mad world, but what FCS has is something that's just so unique, and it is that community feel. And everybody within this community is so passionate about the sport, about the players, about the colleges, and that really rubs off on you when if you've lived with it your whole life, you probably might not realize it as much. But coming in from the outside and coming in from a completely different territory as well, it really is something quite special. And it's something that everybody involved in FCS, whether you're a fan, whether you're a commissioner, really embrace it and really grab hold of it and keep it tight, because it really has an ability, I think, to make people's lives and to give them something to look forward to every Saturday. And that passion just shone through throughout the weekend in Nashville.
Well, even before you started producing this show, knowing that you had a Murray State Racers T-shirt is great. You already had
You know what?
you had your FCS background from the start.
Well, this is the weird thing. Obviously, living in the United Kingdom, getting merchandise sent across is a little bit difficult, even for FBS football. So you have to sort of trawl around your eBays and your Vinteds and such, like other places you can buy from is available. But Craig is right. There is indeed a Murray State Racers shirt over here in the United Kingdom, bought from someone in the United Kingdom. I would love to know who the other person is here. But the weird thing about this is I bought this shirt years and years ago in 2006. I had to choose a baseball team to support. I ended up choosing the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in 2006. The following year, they went to the World Series. So book it now, Murray State Racers fans. You are going to Nashville. You will be playing in the championship game next year at Vanderbilt Stadium. Or maybe not.
That's part of the inside tip you get on the FCS Edge. One more question, Graham. Obviously, you mentioned you were in Nashville. You were there to produce the Stats Reform FCS National Awards show. I've been involved 16 years. I thought it was our best show ever. What are your thoughts with the production of the show?
I mean, it was a genuine honor and privilege to be in that room, and there was a couple of moments that really stood out for me across the night. One of them was Jared Allen when he walked into the building and he looked around the incredible Woolworth Theatre with steeped in history, and he walked over to the Buck Buchanan Award with his daughter and pointed his name out on the award. And I sort of expected that moment to happen. But then he noticed the portraits, the legacy portrait of Buck Buchanan, and also the fact that one is presented as well to a player. And his first words were, "That's so cool you guys still do that." That is something that sits and remains in my memory of it. And that goes back obviously now over to 2003 with him. The other moment for me was when Bo won the Walter Payton Award, was looking across to his family, sat down. And I want to say it was his dad. I can't be 100% sure, but during the course of his son giving his being interviewed on stage by Kendra and Don, who did a brilliant job presenting on the night, the dad, he was clearly slightly overcome with emotion and was trying to keep it in check. But every so often he would look down at his phone as clearly text messages were flying in and such like. And these big smiles just kept breaking out over his face in each of those moments. And it was lovely to be part of an experience where we were doing that for families, for organizations. I mean, Youngtown State, my goodness, they traveled in numbers to the awards show. It was a packed out arena from them, which was great. But it was wonderful just being in the room with so many great people, flying in. And the first thing I do is not only do I go out for dinner with Craig, but I'm also going out for dinner with Eddie Payton. I'm going out for dinner with Sherry Kirkland. Like, I'm going out for dinner with Georgia Buchanan. Like, that's a lovely moment straight away, and something that I'll cherish for the rest of my time. And hopefully we'll be back, maybe in Nashville, maybe somewhere else next year. Who knows what we might be doing or in the years to come, because it's been a wonderful experience to be part of, and I really hope to get to do it again and maybe spend a bit longer in the city this time and get to come out and meet some of the fans like you both did.
We also had Zach McKinnell dressed to the nines there. It was a business chic kind of attire that night, and he was looking great.
No, someone asked me because after the award ceremony, I went downtown and met up with Sam and some people, and I went back to the hotel and changed, and I showed up in like my hoodie and everything, and they were like, "Did you wear that to the award ceremony?" And I was like, "No."
Well, gentlemen, any final thoughts here on our final segment?
I don't think so, man. What a season. What a game to end the season, right? And then, man, Craig, I don't know if I'm sure you could probably speak to this too. The emotion of the Montana State fans, man, just finally breaking through. It kind of reminded me, and it wasn't their first championship, but it reminded me of South Dakota State breaking through and winning their first one back in, what was it, 2022. And I remember being there where they block off for the photographers and just seeing fans behind me emotional and tearing up, and just the emotion being overwhelming for some of those fans. And it was kind of similar to this weekend with Montana State, where it was like, we finally got it done. Because for a second there, and one of the fans told me, he goes, for a second there, he goes, man, I thought I was going to have to go home sad. And he was like, I was real nervous there. So for them to finally break through, man, I was so happy for that fan base and for Brent Vegan. I thought you saw the relief on his face on that stage where he was like, he finally, like, they built all the way up to this precipice, Craig, and they finally got on top of the mountain, man. And so shout out to all the Montana State fans that got to enjoy that experience in Nashville.
Yeah, most importantly for me, I was just glad I wasn't having to be security for Craig with Montana fans because they didn't make it. So
That's my New Year's resolution: breaking bread with the Grizz fans. But great to see for Montana State. I tell you what, the pain might be there for Illinois State, but that's the thing with sports. They're going to look back on this, and it's going to be a positive. Everybody kind of walks away as a winner. You know, a game like that, a season like that, conference champions, there's a lot to look back on and feel like a winner walking away. It's not just the one team in the end. That's the great thing about sports. Great thing about the FCS. We talk about the community aspect of it. And ultimately, people wind up rooting for each other. Next up, NFL draft. Everybody starts pulling for FCS guys to make it at the next level. So, a lot to look forward to. We thank I thank both of you. I thank our fans for tuning in week to week, whether on YouTube or on downloads, podcast platforms. So we'll be talking again next year. Great season overall. We thank you, and this has been the FCS Edge.